South Africa's health minister has criticized African leaders who seek medical treatment abroad. Aaron Motsoaledi told a meeting of more than 30 African health ministers in Zimbabwe that what's happening is shameful. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I don't like the fact that Africa is the only continent in this planet whereby when its heads of states are sick, they have got to be taken care of in another country or in another continent for that matter. You know, it's not a good sign, because the only time we'll say health systems in Africa are working is if everybody, including heads of state, are able to get treatment within the continent. I say to my colleagues in cabinet, as long as we don't get treated where others are treated, we all know the conditions there. You all know the hardships. You know, we all know exactly what they are experiencing. I get treated in public hospitals with my family.
Well, it's an issue that has raised debate on the continent. And in terms of time spent abroad getting medical help, well, Nigeria tops the list. The president, Muhammadu Buhari, has only just returned to his country after spending more than 4 months in London getting treatment for an undisclosed illness. In Angola, the immediate former president, José Eduardo dos Santos, traveled to Spain for health reasons in May. The government was not forthcoming about his problem. Zimbabwe's president, Robert Mugabe, has also been criticized by his political opponents for running his country from his hospital bed after his third medical trip to Singapore this year. Another leader who recently sought treatment abroad is Benin's President Patrice Talon, who traveled to France in June for 2 operations. And President Abdelaziz Bouteflika of Algeria, who suffered a stroke in 2013, has been to France twice for treatment since then. Well, joining us now from Accra is Dr. Amabuhene Anda, who wrote a book about her time as President Kufuor's physician. First of all, doctor, let me ask you, what's your position on this? Leaders traveling abroad to get treatment?
Well, I think thank you for having me, but I think it really depends on why they are actually traveling abroad. Because what actually happens is that I've heard all your statistics, but sometimes there is a need to go abroad. The reason I'm saying this is that I have no doubt that our human resource with respect to doctors and nurses and other clinicians in Africa is excellent, because we have to learn sometimes under very trying circumstances, and our clinical skills are great. However, we have problems sometimes with our diagnostics. With diagnostics, we're talking about laboratory diagnostics and, you know, other imaging diagnostics that we may need. So it depends on the circumstance. If
Doctor, you say it depends on the circumstance, but if you were an ordinary, for instance, let's take Nigeria, an ordinary Nigerian on the street who cannot seek assistance abroad, and you see your president spending 4 months abroad simply because he is the president, surely there has to be something fundamentally wrong with that.
Well, I'm glad you said he is the president, and that is what we should realize. Unfortunately, we can't have everybody going abroad for treatment. He is the pivot of the society. However, having said that, I think it's also because of the information flow, and that has always been my position, that if people know exactly or have a fair idea of what is happening, they will appreciate it better. I'll give you a very typical circumstance where you're being asked to do a blood test. Results are coming back in 14 days because, for example, in Ghana, sometimes we have to fly samples to South Africa. So if the head of state is waiting for 14 days, the results come back, he has to retake some of the tests. You can imagine that it will be wiser and better for him to go out there and see whether he can
doctor,
get some,
I mean, just bear with us a minute. Bear with us a minute, because we've been on the streets of Abuja and Harare in Zimbabwe just to hear the views of some of the people on the streets.
Actually, for going abroad to treatment is not. I don't see anything wrong there. I don't see anything wrong there. Any way anybody can find solution for himself, it's okay for me.
To my own observation, I don't think it is good, because what they have in abroad, we are up to having it in this country as we are. God has given us the resources, the human resources, financially and otherwise.
That thing that takes them outside mostly, they should do it here in Nigeria and let's make use of it, because going there is like, I'm not seeing it as a good thing. I'm not seeing it as a good thing, and at the same time, it brings us low, because I believe we are giants and we need to do like giants.
Doctor, it makes other countries look down on us Africans. That's what that lady said there in that final clip. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't agree that it makes them look down on us. As I'm saying, it's information flow. If people are aware that whatever the person is doing outside cannot necessarily be done easily back home, and I'm saying easily because I use that word advisedly. Sometimes, though, I think it's a little frivolous, because some of the things that they may seek for medical attention for outside may not necessarily be something. But if it's necessary, and because the populace doesn't actually know what is going on, I mean, they can only speculate and they can only get angry because it's taxpayers' money that is being used to take care of the head of state abroad.
Buhari'S, and speaking to us live from Accra. Thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated.